Okay, so I actually kind of just wanted to explore around a little bit. I kind of just wanted to like check the place out, see what we're kind of working with, see what the living conditions are here, you know? It's very interesting. I don't know what any of this stuff does. Very interesting. Clearly some tech. So there's a lot of walkways going on, it seems like. Very open paths. A lot of locked doors that you can't really get through that I imagine probably go somewhere important. A lot of tubing here. Interesting, interesting. Some consoles. Okay. So what is this area? So this is something you definitely find on like an average Grineer Galleon.
Let's rumble.
Will I be the home inspector? True. That's what they call me.
You done?
Oh,
Uh-oh,
I've died.
bleeding over here. Dude, I can't believe you got to study physics.
I did study physics. There are no other enemies to be spotted.
It was horrible, and I do not want to talk about it.
All hands, brace for missile impact.
I need to do this, right? We got douchebags.
Could you guys stop doing that, please? I'm inspecting your galleon. Fuck off. Alright. So this seems like a normal room. Kind of like giving me storage energy and there's like some crates around here. There's some stuff going on. There's definitely a little more going on here. I don't really know what this is. Some pipes, some electricity. So maybe like some generators. Is this what these are? So they've got a reliable source of power here, but for the most part this room's very open, right? It seems like more like a hub area, you know? Not really like somewhere people would be at, you know. What was the thermal thunder tip? What do you mean? Is this a D's nuts joke? Okay, so this is obviously just a storage room, but from what I'm seeing of like this layout is giving me big like we have a lot of room to spare, you know. How can I reverse the elements? Um like this? Is this what you're talking about? Invert tap hold abilities? Is that what you're talking about? But yeah, the Grineer clearly have a lot of room to spare here, which is interesting. There's only like some stuff kind of just scattered around. Interesting, interesting. So this room is kind of the room that gets me the most because this is kind of the room that proves to me like there's clearly not a lot going on in this ship, right? The problem with this room is that like
Have no life.
we don't really see anything useful here. I mean, there's definitely like these things, which are what I'm just assuming these are guns, but like between the guns, there's just a massive wide open area, right? There's even got windows in it. There's nothing happening here, right? Like they don't have like a lunch room. They don't have like quarters. I mean, I'm assuming they do, but that's definitely not taking up this space. This space is clearly just for the armaments of the ship. I don't think they have a dragon. Yeah, I know that's a decent stroke. You don't need to tell me. I am not here. Oh, all right. So I'm kind of thinking like
All hands, brace
this
for
cuz you can like visibly see based on the size of my character. This is a massive room, right? Like you can easily tell that this is a gigantic room, right? This has got to be like a huge chunk of. Most of it's for redundancy's sake. What do you mean by that? Like in case the guns fail? This is actually kind of curious. There is a few things like below here, right? A lot of walkways. Something fragment armor. What does that mean? I'm so curious. So there's these things down here, which I'm not really sure what these do, but I don't know. Seems kind of curious. But there's definitely like some rooms down here, which this definitely like goes somewhere. Even though it's locked, it obviously goes somewhere, right? So there's like quite a few connecting corridors. So if that room was a hub, this room is the Giga hub. So assume the other room over there, that's probably like the generator room, or like a part storage room. This is like a real hub room, right? Lots of stuff connects to this. It's the place where the main armaments of the ship are. Old tire filter, weird AF. Truly. But this is very interesting because there's not only a lot of space here, but there's a lot of connections here to like other rooms, as you can clearly see. Just interesting. Climb on this? Can. A lot of piping, a lot of stuff going on. I assume to help with the guns. Whatever's going on over there. Nice yap session. Thank you. We're exploring the Grineer Galleon today. I am hired to professionally talk. So lots of storage rooms. So I assume all of the Grineer's like living quarters, like a lot of that sort of thing going on. Probably not shown here. Just interesting. Although there is Grineer tile sets where we do see the living quarters, but they're definitely pretty inaccessible on this ship at least, which is quite curious. That doesn't tell us a lot about what the situation for the Grineer really looks like here, you know? You go up in here? No. Fine. We've got a little bit more to explore. What are you doing, man? I'm inspecting your ship, sir. If you could kindly vacate the premises.
Okay, let's do this.
Fragmentation armor is the type of armor that is placed above the main armor layer and is expected to get damaged, and its main function is to trigger armor-piercing ammo early so the main armor layer stays intact. Ooh, that's actually a pretty good theory. Because, like, you can definitely see, like, there's a lot of space in this room, right? So you imagine, like, the real core of the ship is probably somewhere in this direction, where this would be, like, the fragment armor. That makes a lot of sense. Get to book club, lol. I'm technically not part of book club. I'm technically can't read, and I also didn't read the book. But Blue said I should show up anyway to look pretty. She didn't say that specifically, but, you know. Right now we're inspecting this Grineer Galleon. Okay, this is peak content right now, okay? I don't know what you want from me. Okay, so we have another storage room here. I imagine this ship as a zeppelin. So they want to have as much air in there as possible so they stay flying. Didn't they use like helium or something? I don't even know. But it is in fact a spaceship. But I imagine this is a ship that has a lot more going to it, right? Cause like this has to house like a lot of Grineer, right? Logistically, some exposed wiring here even. My, that is not up to code. But it's sectioned off like one. That is true. But I imagine in a real world scenario, all of these locked doors have something behind them. Have a place you can go behind them. Does Cloisto fanfiction count as a book? I didn't know that I had that on me. Cloisto, what's the rating on the ship? I'm not sure yet. We're not quite finished with our inspection. We're still having a little look around. Right now, it's not looking great. So this room is very curious because, again, very wide open, very, very high ceilings. It even has freaking windows, man, that look out into space here, which is very very interesting because you would not see this sort of thing on a ship that's made like purely for combat or like purely for like transport, right? Like this seems very like not utility, all like pleasure ship. You know what I mean? That makes it sound weird. But anyway, which is kind of interesting. I don't know what this is. This is very curious. Seems kind of relevant to the function of the ship. I mean, it's just like right there, right? These things are all like pointing at it. There's only two of them, weirdly enough. Okay.
All hands, brace for missile impact.
So this is more of an advanced like storage room. I imagine they have a lot of storage, which is interesting. Maybe they're gonna use these ships as cloning labs and living quarters. Well, here's my problem, right? It's like I feel like we're not seeing a lot of living quarters. Like we're not seeing a lot of places where these Grineer would actually stay in. And we certainly haven't seen any cloning labs that would suggest that. Which is my problem, is I'm looking for like evidence of what are the Grineer really doing here, you know? For natural lighting so they can save on the electrical bill? Brother, it's a spaceship. Is Nova good? Yes. Okay, we're gonna continue our inspection over this way. So they have a lot of these storage rooms, which is very interesting because you'd imagine they're transporting at least something around. If not, probably not a lot around, but they're transporting something around, right? What are the Grineer doing? Mining everything they can? Yeah, but from what I've seen, this is a Grineer Galleon. We're trying to figure out, like, what happens in a Grineer Galleon, you know? Their what area? Electricity is expensive even in space? Maybe so. There's no escaping the taxmen. They don't they technically just teleport here from somewhere else? Like the ship? Anyway, but I don't think this is a mining ship. The only thing we've seen evidence of them on the ship is that they definitely have some storage and they definitely have some armaments. And they have a lot of really wide open rooms, which is very interesting. I haven't seen a lot of living areas, although I imagine there is living areas somewhere on this ship. Storage for the resources they ship from the planets? Yeah, that makes sense. Weapon transporting Galleon? That's a cool, interesting theory. But I imagine these are probably like all-purpose Galleons, right? But I find it very odd that they don't have a lot of stuff you would expect from you know, a Galleon that's got a lot more like utility in it, right? Very odd. Seriously, some Grineer Galleons don't use windows? That's odd.
Missiles incoming.
Mostly yes, because their birthing place is on Uranus. That's fair. The problem is, like, if somebody wanted to say, figure out how many Grineer were actually on this ship, having very, very little actual, like, rooms where Grineer would be staying does not bode well for being able to determine what the actual head count of the Grineer is on the ship. Because my question right now is, how many Grineer are there on this ship that you don't see by just encountering them? Because this is a massive vessel. I mean, this is a gigantic ship, right? You would imagine there's not like the 100 or so personnel that are on the decks, right? These are clearly like the combat personnel, right? What's going on behind the scenes here? They're gonna have their own fast cloning labs so they don't stop spawning. True. Fun fact: without Railjack, our orbiter disguises itself as a ship belonging to either faction. You can hear about this via the orbiter radio chatter. That's interesting. Wow. How do you know they aren't just big TVs? Which part? Okay, so this is interesting. Again, another room you don't really know what it's doing. But this room definitely seems to have some sort of function. I mean, let's look at these things, right? These seem like they're carrying some kind of liquid or gas, or they definitely seem like they're a container for something, because these are moving. Like these seem like they're definitely like they contain something that might be important for the ship. Maybe it's like fuel or something. Just interesting, because this looks like an exhaust vent, which is very curious. I don't think they're transporting that. This is also very interesting. Another like exhaust vent, which seems like potentially these link directly to like the ship's power source in some way. This is very curious. What is this possibly for? I don't know. But again, a lot of open windows. And because of the fact that this is such a small room, it seems like it's a room that's definitely on the top of the ship. This seems like a top of the ship room, which means a lot of the rooms we've really been investing in have been more towards the top of the ship as opposed to the bottom layer. Which is interesting. And I think this right here is probably one of the more interesting things to me too, because this is also seeming to be spinning. So this if anything seems to be kind of akin to an engine room, although I don't think this room itself has the engine in it, but I think there is components that kind of are supplying what the engine needs to function. It's interesting. This is yet another small little storage room where, again, they don't have a whole lot of actual stuff. Might be an engine room or a water treatment plant. That is true too. They could have this as a water treatment plant, which they would need for functioning on the ship.
Missile impact imminent.
It's very curious. What is this small little corridor room anyway? It seems like there's some sort of control here, which would kind of imply that they're hello, excuse me. Rude. We're having a ship inspection. Gonna need to fuck off. This would kind of imply that this does have, like, these are like some sort of control system, either for this engine kind of area or potentially if this is a water treatment plant, this would control it, which does kind of further the narrative that this is definitely a room that's pretty vital to the function of the ship. It's very curious. So this room, this is an interesting one. These rooms look AI generated. So, what is happening here? So this looks way more like an engine than anything else. This gives me big engine energy. I don't really know exactly what's happening here, but it seems like they're somehow getting some kind of power here. Which would make a lot of sense because there's a lot of like controls around, a lot of like this also seems like where they would really like steer the ship. Gold smelting. Collect water from the atmosphere of a planet. Well, it's been noted that they do notably collect water from Earth. It's interesting. There's actually a valve here. I don't know if this is a wheel or a valve. It's quite curious. Boy, hi. But there's a lot of control systems here, which means to me this is probably where they would pilot this. This seems like both the engine room and where they would pilot the ship, unless this is some sort of forge or some kind of something going on. But to me there's way too many like controls littered around the area for it to be anything else. Grineer wastes a lot of space, but we're thinking of it logically. This should be akin to a super heavy jet carrier as well as colony ships. Also, Grineer have already colonized most of the solar system. Yeah. Rich in metal planets, so they might not feel the need to spare any expenses. That is true. So this is my good question, right? Because if this is a ship that's meant to carry a lot of people, number one, you don't see a lot of people. But again, that could just be because this is just the Grineer security force, and most of the people are who would otherwise normally be working in this area are probably like somewhere else, right? Off season. Well, yeah. Like these are the vital personnel that aren't necessarily as good at combat, and so they're more towards letting the combat team deal with this problem. This is a very interesting and very large room. Another storage room area that actually has absolutely nothing in it. But I imagine this also is just a hallway, because this is a door here that doesn't technically connect to anything, but I just imagine these are locked doors. So they're space tourists. True. All right. So what's up here? This is also very interesting. This just seems like kind of the rafters, where there's weirdly seems to be like even more consoles, which is very interesting. Um, a lot of stuff going on here. They report and tell D to put more effort into map creation. No, I think they put plenty of effort in. I'm just trying to figure out what all this stuff is. So there's clearly some that I like to imagine this is the engine. I think this is way more relevant as the engine. But that would also kind of further my premise of these could potentially be the fuel tanks for the engine. I mean, let's look at these pipes, right? Like you can see all these pipes around. I would imagine it would not be very difficult to have these pipes kind of connect up into the room over there to kind of be fueling the Galleon, right? If these are fuel tanks. We be reviewing the corpus tile sets too? We'll see. Maybe so.
All hands brace for missile impact.
All right. We got a few more rooms to explore, I imagine. Another locked door. Very interesting. Very interesting. Very curious. So this seems like more of a storage area than anything. This is the most crates I think I've seen piled up in one place in any room. This is a lot going on right here, which is very curious because there are literally rooms dedicated to storage in this area. But again, I'd like to imagine some of those areas are actually more akin to hallways, I think. These are these are dumpsters, dude. So they do have some at least some viable waste management, which is interesting. Although I don't know if I would keep the dumpsters in the same room as the reactor and all the controls for the ship. But I guess this probably doesn't control the ship. There's not as many consoles around as I initially had thought, but there's definitely quite a few. So I imagine this is the reactor, the energy room. Do you think the Grineer have toilets? Well, of course, probably somewhere on the ship.
Time to clean house. Ew.
Ew. Ducius just messaged me and said, should I recruit Warframe clan members and tell them we have a book club? Why have toilets if you could poop in space? I don't think that's how that works. Here's anything squat in toilets. Hey, listen, you guys are worried about this part way too much. Store seems like it should open, but weirdly is locked. Okay, very curious. So another one of these rooms. Actually, two of these rooms back to back, which is very interesting. So this definitely says a lot about like what this room does. If there's 3 of these rooms in a ship, what could this room possibly be for that they would need 3 of them? If not, probably more throughout the rest of the ship. That is very interesting, which I'm not 100% sure like what we can really deduce about this room.
Missile impact imminent.
Like what could this possibly be? We are waiting on you to talk book. Oh, I didn't think I was showing up. I thought you guys were gonna do it without me. I'm playing. Do you guys really want me to show up to book club? Sorry, I was actually just in the middle of reviewing this Grineer Galleon. I'm sorry. Do you actually want me to show up? I thought you guys were gonna be good without me. So this seems like partially a hallway, but partially potentially a storage room as well, which is interesting. A lot of exposed piping here. But I think as opposed to saying those are storage rooms, I think I'd like to say those are probably hallways that actually connect to other areas on the ship that are just locked. Because that makes a lot more sense to me. And, you know, sometimes there's just a few things in the hallway. Where did Ducius go? He did not answer that. Oh, wow. This is a very interesting room. This seems like some sort of emergency room. Very ominous. There's one staircase with a single console down here. It's book time. You guys really want me to show up to book club? This is crazy. This isn't Star Citizen. You're not buying ships. Get in here. Okay, chat. I think they're yelling at me that I legally need to show up to book club. All right. Hello. I'm back to finish my Grineer Galleon review. But in recording this time instead of live on stream. I don't actually recall where we really left off here. I remember we were having a look at this room. It was it's more like a panic room. Like, what does this console really do? What does this do? It seems like it would eject some kind of like cell, like power cell of some sort, or like coolant cell of some sort, which is quite curious actually.
Missiles incoming.
Otherwise, this room has a few connections. Not really sure what it does. It does have some windows though, clearly on the edge of the ship. Weirdly, you see some green gas up here. This cannot be Omtic code. This cannot be safe or sanitary. I don't know what this green gas is doing. This does not seem right. All right, let's keep having a little looks around. All right, still got these hallways here, of course. Where have we not visited yet? So this way than anything. I'm gonna check down here, see if there's anything down here.
Brace for missile impact.
Doesn't really seem like there's anything over here. Just a locked door. So we're headed towards the captain now. Which is gonna be interesting to have a little look-see around here. Hallway leading into this. Uh-oh, some more guys who want to stop my inspection. Hold on. And another one of these rooms, which is quite odd. I'm still kind of trying to figure out what these do. They seem like some sort of generator of some sort. But to have a lot of generator rooms like this, I mean, to be fair, I think a ship of this size would probably need quite a lot of power. So it does make sense to an extent, for sure. Another console.
Missiles incoming.
Whoa. Okay. This is definitely something we can figure out what this is. Number one, more green gas, which I'm actually kind of curious. This might be oxygen, actually. This might be good. This might actually be something good that we're actually like putting out here. But I can't imagine whatever this is good. Although this just seems like steam, so I'm not sure. But this is clearly potentially a hangar of some sort. It has direct access to the outside, although I imagine this is glass. Oh, yeah, this is just straight up an exit, so you can leave the ship from this point. So this is interesting. This is quite interesting. And there's some sort of thing up here which seems like it could actually like hang on to a ship. So it seems like you could definitely like dock one singular ship in here, but it doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot of room for more. But I imagine, I guess, if there's a lot of these kind of bays throughout the ship, then each little ship could have its own docking point, which could be interesting. But to me, it makes way more sense to have like a larger bay for ships. But this does seem like the point at which you could get in and out of the ship if need be.
Missile launch detected.
All right. Another storage / power room here. And this is the captain's quarters, which is quite interesting. Of course, this captain, I don't think he likes the inspection, so we're going to we're gonna give him a little nap. All right.
Galleon in disarray. Objective complete.
Oh, there's still some guys here. Hey guys, how's it going? All right, so captain's quarters wise, yeah, this is definitely your navigation room. This is where the captain can see what's in front of the ship, what's going on in the ship. They can definitely control where the ship's going from all these panels here. Even have a little like display of what's going on here, which is interesting. Quite curious. Is there anything else going on in the captain's room here? Apparently used for a little bit of storage. Oh, you definitely can't go down there. Weirdly, this also seems very, very similar down there. What's going on in here? Hey, buddy. I have to ask you to vacate the premises.
Target down.
Seems like what's going on down there was actually very, very similar to the reactor we saw in like the reactor room. That seems to be really powering the ship itself, and you can definitely see some more panels over here that might have something to do with it. So potentially like a secondary backup, or even just a secondary to help to begin with. Definitely could be down there. Do we spot anything else down there? A lot of tubes, a lot of exposed tubing. Some valves here, interesting. But yeah, this seems like some kind of power source as well. Seems like this ship is very, very well powered. But that seems like it's about it for the ship. Overall, not a lot of utility things. A lot of power generation, a lot of corridors, hallways, big open areas. From what I've seen, not a lot of like mess halls or residential areas that you can see in sight. But again, I would imagine these sort of things, and of course, like some utility stuff like the restrooms and whatnot. You're not really seeing in this little glimpse, but I imagine they exist on the ship somewhere, behind some locked doors or whatnot, right? But from what we could see, it doesn't really feel like they're utilizing their space very effectively, which is very curious. But yeah, I imagine it's the ship itself is probably way more populated than this. So all these wide open areas on the ship, I kind of imagine like these would be probably bustling with people doing various jobs at like these control panels and whatnot, and regulating a lot of the ship's equipment. Um, you don't see a lot of those people out here, and so I think they definitely exist, but they're not on the front lines of combat when the ship is invaded. All right, that's it. That's my Grineer Galleon review. Thank you for watching.